This is DRF Race of the Day. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The DRF Race of the Day for Saturday, November the 13th, is the Artie Schiller Stakes at Aqueduct. Let's take a look at this field, and it is a competitive one slated for 1 mile on the inner turf. $150,000 is the purse. You can bet the race with DRF Bets. You can download free Formulator Past performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access them and handicap along with us. Mike, it is a pretty wide open race. Tell your daddy the 6 has been in excellent form for trainer Tom Morley.
Yeah, he's proven to be a very good claim. Graded stakes winner now, ran really well in that grade 1 most recently at Keeneland. I guess he's the horse to beat. That I don't really have, huge arguments against either of the two favorites on the morning line.
He has excellent tactical speed, as we see from our time form US pace projector. Rinaldi, the number 3, should be able to make the lead. And he had to go very fast last time out in the West Point at Saratoga. He might have a more similar trip, let's say, as he did in the Forbidden Apple 2 starts back when he took him gate to wire. When Rinaldi gets loose, he's dangerous.
Yeah, he's got good speed. He's a very underrated New York bred. Really got hooked on the pace last time. They didn't let him get away with anything. Much more comfortable trip when he won the grade 3 2-back. Tell Your Daddy has tactical speed. Field Pass has tactical speed. Even the one Flavius can be up close in this race. So I think he will make the front Rinaldi. I just don't know how slow he'll be able to go.
That was a good point about Flavius. He does have tactical speed. He wired Tell Your Daddy in the restricted Lure Stakes 2 starts back at Saratoga. Did you feel he moved a little bit early last time out when the beaten favorite in the grade 3 Mint Million at Kentucky Downs?
Yeah, I thought he had an excuse last time. He got very lucky when he won the Lure 2-back. They just let him walk on the lead and couldn't catch him. Last time, the pace was much more competitive. It was very fast. Closers ran 1st, 3rd, and 4th in there. The horse that he was dueling the pace with, Some Like It Hot Brown, ran very well to last for 2nd. But certainly this horse had an excuse last time.
And Some Like It Hot Brown backed that race up by finishing 3rd in the Keeneland Turf with a 100 buyer and then beating fellow New York breds in the Mohawk with a 98 buyer. The number 2 Olympic Runner is one of a couple of Mark Casse trained runners with similar racing styles. They need luck. They often don't get it. In the Woodbine Mile 2 starts back, he was sort of in and among horses all the way around, got checked in between and mid-stretch. I'm not saying he would have won, but I think he would have been a little bit closer. And then in his most recent start, then the Arctic Stakes, going 3/4 of a mile. He's in behind horses inside the quarter pole. There really isn't anywhere for him to run. It is a long stretch at Woodbine, but Mike, it's getting late early. When he's clear, he kicks.
Yeah, he finishes pretty well for the final furlong of this race. Maybe it's a little too short. Getting clear as late as he didn't help. I thought he finished very well in this race. He had no chance in the Woodbine Mile 2-back, not only with the traffic trouble, but with that just slow pace in front of him. This is probably as far as he wants to go, this 1 mile distance. If he gets a clean trip, I think he's a very dangerous horse, Dan. He just needs to get clear in time.
And he needs someone to push the 3 Rinaldi in the early portion. We talked about New York bred Rinaldi, how he got away with an easy lead in the grade 3 Forbidden Apple, and he was able to hold on at the wire. Tail of 2 paces last time out in the West Point, as Mike mentioned in the Timeform US pace projector. He just got cooked on the lead in a quality race. That's Sanctuary City. It's nice to see him return and do some good things for Jimmy Ferraro.
Yeah, it's true. You don't often see those turf races in New York get run the way the West Point was run, Dan. But everybody knew that Rinaldi was sort of the horse to beat on the lead. And Todd Pletcher had an entry in there, and he sent one of his horses right after Rinaldi in there, hooked him up on the pace. And this horse really paid the price. He's another horse that he's plenty good enough to win this race if he gets the trip that he wants. He actually ran really well in this race last year.
And he's a very dangerous pace presence with a very aggressive jockey, Luis Saez, aboard. March to the Arch is one of our favorites, the number 4. He is closing in on millionaire status, and this is a horse that ran 4th in the Woodbine Mile last time out. And again, it was a situation where he had run, but he had a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the story of this horse's life. He's a really good horse. It's nice to see that he can still run at 6 years old, Dan. 4 starts so far this year. He's only won one of them. That Niagara, a race that really set up well for him. They went a wicked pace in front of him, and he came running late to take that field down. But I think he's run equally well in his last 2 starts against better horses.
In the King Eddie 2 starts back, when he was beaten by Olympic Runner, he kind of didn't break very well. He was in tight late in the game, and he still split horses with a plum. He just needs a trip. That's the story of March to the Arch's career, but he is a class master that really fits with these. Bodie Cream is the number 5, coming off the claim for trainer Jeffrey Engelhart. Let's watch his last race for $80,000. He was a pace pressing winner this day. The fractions were legitimate, and he draws off to win with a career best 94 Beyer speed figure. He has run well in stakes races in the past. He was a stakes winner early in his 3-year-old campaign, 3rd in the Hill Prince, 3rd in the Saranac. Do you think maybe he can get back to that form?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with them stepping him back up in class. I think he'll handle it. This is a tougher spot. He's just, so ultra consistent. He can get any kind of a trip in a race. I think it's going to be hard for him to beat this field, but I don't think you should just totally dismiss him at some kind of big price, because he shows up every time and he can get a trip. I know he's been claimed away from Maker Dan. I wouldn't worry about that. He just feels to me like the kind of horse who will run for anybody.
He was claimed for 80. Tell Your Daddy, the number 6, was claimed for 40 earlier this year and has really rewarded his new connections. Winner of the Bernard Baruch 2 starts back, in which he got a wonderful ride from John Velasquez, just really taking the bull by the horns, making the lead, backing down the pace, and sprinting on home. Let's watch his last race, the Keeneland Turf Mile. This was a good trip until it wasn't. He was in the pocket. You see him in the pink silks trying to get to the outside. He's kind of being herded in, and eventually he gets clear and runs on nicely for second.
Yeah, I thought he ran, well in this race. He did. I think you're right. He got a really good trip until the stretch when he needed to get clearance, and he really had a tough time getting it. That horse that was sort of holding him in there was Ivar, who came back to run 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Mile last weekend. I mean, it was a really good field, and this horse ran another really good race there. What a great claim and a great job that Tom Morley's done with this horse.
And he finished ahead of Some Like It Hot Brown as well as that race. Of course, we talked about him earlier. He's a millionaire and a really nice stakes horse. Todd Pletcher has the 7 NYC at a playable price, 8-1 on the morning line. This horse came off a 2-month layoff last time out and just really didn't do much in the Knickerbocker. I don't think the wide trip helped, going 1 1/8 on the inner turf.
I mean, it probably didn't, but he also didn't run very well in that race. I'm not going to give him a trip excuse for the Knickerbocker. I guess he had a trip excuse 2 back. If you go back and watch the Saratoga race, he sort of got buried inside through the stretch, probably had a little bit of run there, and it might have cost him something. I don't know if he was going to win or not, Dan. He's a maiden on the grass. I got to be honest, I'm not a big fan of this horse, and I just feel like he's the kind of, maybe he'll get a better trip this time and run better. I'm just not a fan. I think he's in really, really tough here.
Breaking the Rules is just a horse that confounds me. He, at first glance, looks like the typical McGahee type. He's going to improve with maturity. He's going to improve with distance. But I wonder if the ship has sailed with Breaking the Rules after 19 starts. He got the big pace meltdown and rallied up the rail to win at Saratoga 2 starts back. And last time out in the Knickerbocker, he was just kind of there, 1 paced around the track. I don't know. Could you make an excuse for that race?
No, I thought he got a great trip in there. The pace was solid. He saved all the ground, got clear in the stretch, actually ahead of the winner, Sacred Life, and this horse just didn't really kick in that spot. I'm with you. I'm confounded by him as well. When they first switched him over to turf, I thought he was going to be pretty good. He won a stakes race early on. Since then, he just really hasn't gone forward. He's run some good races, to be sure, but all 3 of his turf wins since the Tropical Park Derby are in allowance races. Whenever they run him in these stakes races, he's just not good enough, and I didn't think he ran well at all last time.
Both the 9 Bal Harbor, the 10 Our Last Buck, they are entered main track only. So we'll move on to the 11, the very likable Field Pass. And let's watch Field Pass's most recent race, that being the Knickerbocker on October the 10th. And Dylan Davis got Field Pass to the lead. He set some legitimate fractions, and he's going to get run down late by a useful Chad Brown trained horse named Sacred Life. Field Pass is in good form right now. He really likes this distance, and he's tactical. He doesn't need the lead to win. As a matter of fact, I think he's going to probably work out a good trip sitting 3rd or 4th early.
Yeah, I sort of looked at it the same way. I do think he's tactical enough to sit the right trip in this race. I thought he ran great in that Knickerbocker we just watched. I know he got gunned down at the end, but that was a pretty solid pace. They wanted the lead with him. They got it, but he was moving right along up the backstretch. I thought that was a pretty tough beat for this horse. He's only 1 for 6 as a 4-year-old. After winning 5 stakes races as a 3-year-old, Dan, he's 1 for 6 this year. But I actually think he's a better horse this year than he was last year. He's just faced some, tougher competition. I think he's acquitted himself pretty well.
Completing the field is the number 12 Mandate, who's 50-1 on the morning line, and for good reason. He's 16-1 in the race we're going to show you right now, and this is merely a $25,000 starter at Laurel, a situation where he got a strong pace, he got a clear trip, and he was able to run these horses down. There was at one point in time where Mandate had some potential, a $200,000 yearling. It was in the Pletcher barn, claimed away from Todd for 25. He'll probably need a lot of things to go his way on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, he should catch some pace to run at, which he really needs. But and he's a good horse for what he is, Dan, but he's not really a graded stakes horse.
Wide open race. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Saturday race of the day, the Artie Schiller. Mike's going with Field Pass, and his tactical speed gives him an edge over a horse like Olympic Runner, who is just going to lag at the back, hope for some fast pace, hope for some running room, and hope that he gets there in time.
Yeah, I'm going to use Olympic Runner too, though. I think he's an interesting horse in here. I just want to take one more shot with Field because I thought he ran really well last time, and like you, I think he's going to get a good trip in here.
I have to use Field Pass as well. He's my 4th pick. Mike's going 11, 6, 2, and 4. I'm going 2, 6, 5, and 11 in the Artie Schiller Stakes, a race you can play with DRF Bets.